This is an introduction to a very important interview for me. And I wanted to write it down so that I would not forget all I wanted to say. Now, being a woman can never really give us access into a man's world. And I think this is one of the greatest envies a woman has. Has nothing to do with penis envy, as the great psychologist Sigmund Freud said. It has to do with the fact that we can never be the other gender fully. Now, especially, this is due to the nature of a woman's emotions. Our emotions are very, very dynamic, they're very extensive, and they tend to be invaders. We invade one another and we're used to it, but when we invade men, they feel it and they become affected by us. We're also great influencers, women, because of those emotions. Now, men back away from us, and rightly so. And this video was made with this in the spirit of coming to know one another in a very simple, immediate way. Neither gender can really grasp the inner experience of the other gender, nor can they help. One of the biggest questions a woman asks is, how can I help you? It's almost like an obsession, an illness almost, I would say. No, we cannot help a man. They need to discover themselves just the way that they cannot help us. The help is done by being yourself. So each one of us must rise alone. Now there's many people attempting this authenticity. It's like the tonic of the age. In our school, the aspect of feminine mysteries, which is for women obviously, we're trying to attain to that authenticity by ourselves as the feminine mysteries schools. Now, there's some men's circles in different places, and I was lucky enough to contact one of these here in Palma de Mallorca. It is still too small, and necessarily these groups of men are secretive, and they have to be secretive to protect themselves from our influences, our supposedly goodwill. They have to grow by themselves in their own dignity and power. Not the power that we demand from them, their own. Now, this was an especially important interview for me, as I said, because too much is being said about us women and not enough about the men, for precisely the reasons I've just explained. They are truly introverts. We keep looking for proofs of emotion in them, and keep saying they're not emotional enough, and they are deeply, deeply, deeply emotional. We just don't know how to access it, because we have to stop doing what we do, and I mean we women, in order to come together, in order that they can truly trust us. Some men are too trusting, some men do not trust us enough, but the fault of that is in us, in women, and how we need to change. So this meeting offered me an unusual opportunity to speak with a few of these men who were courageous enough to gather and be interviewed by a woman. And they were composed of professional men, highly intelligent, and very sensitive men who came from different origins and different backgrounds. Now, they were few, but it was enough. It was representative, enough to pique our curiosity, enough to make me say, which I did several times in the video, this has got to be heard. This has got to be heard by more people. And I know it's a long video, but those of you who are interested in understanding a little bit more what I'm talking about right now, listen to it carefully. The privacy of these men is something which is very precious and is sacrosanct, and this is why I especially felt privileged to be able to be allowed inside that space, including the space of anger. to be inside that space as a neutral presence, an understanding neutral presence, and without trying to change it or do anything or explain it away. Many men are angry, and rightfully so. So I want to speak a little bit for them, even though I shouldn't have to speak for them. They speak for themselves. I want to speak a little bit pro-men in this respect. So this video should be really listened to with an open mind, with a very open mind, in order to uncover the jewels that are inside each one of these men, that are inside all men, in their feelings and in what they transmit beyond the words. This is just a beginning. I hope we can have more meetings. And we women need to hear them. We really need to hear them as we have never heard them before. Not because of us, but because of them and for them. And stop comparing them to us. I thank you.
I think every woman asks themselves, what is a man? What makes a man a man? And obviously, I'm going beyond the physical attributes. It's like, there is a difference, even though there's lots of people who say that there isn't. At the level of soul, at the level of aspiration, there isn't. We all want, I think, the same thing, which is a form of love and realization and creativity. But there's always problems in communication. We may love one another deeply, but understanding is something else. And I've been working with women very intensively in what I call feminine mysteries, going beyond what we do, going beyond the labels of what is expected of a woman, her role in society, and going beyond her own fantasies, which are absorbed from the environment and the expectations put on her. And so, in today's changing world, I want to know what makes a man feel a man, and how does a man feel? What is it like being a man? Are you aware of that as a gender beyond your identity and personality, beyond the aspect of being and all the searching that goes on to realize oneself? What does the world demand of you? We women have an idea that you guys are free. A man can do anything. And today, lots of women also do just about anything. But do you feel free? Do you feel that freedom that we see in you? Do you feel the pressure of being something as a man? There's a series of articles that I'm writing right now, I can refer you to later, where I see men as, from the moment of conception, and we're expecting a baby boy, there's a lot of demands placed on that. And the moment that you're born, there's a lot of demands placed on that. Many of them are not stated, but you're meant to uphold the family, your mother, you're somehow supposed to be the breadwinner, you're supposed to be strong. We women demand all the time that you have feelings, but we always tell you that you don't feel enough or you don't feel us. So there's this bridge, and yet there's many inner feelings which I personally feel. So what is it like being a man? What makes you a man?
I'm going to start with freedom.
Yeah.
I grew up in a period and in a place in the 60s, 70s where I had a lot of freedom as a kid. And I sort of understood that at the time and subsequently. But it's not I think if women think that men are free, it's because they feel repressed. So, is that part of the story? I don't think men are particularly free. We have our responsibilities, we have the sense of duty and so on, especially if we have children, sense of ambition and so on, and fitting into society. But I don't personally feel a difference between men and women on the basis of freedom, especially in our culture here now in the West. Women seem to have pretty much equal freedom if they want to take it. So, what does anybody else think about it?
What is the greatest part of being a man in society? What do you think are your advantages, and what is perhaps the most difficult thing, like the two sides of it?
Well, I'd like to pick up on that quickly, because I think it was a good question, with the freedom. I do believe that I have a sister, so I grew up with two women in my life, permanently with me, my mom and my sister. So I'm a very observant person, so I've always been curious about, ever since I can remember, I was always curious about human behavior and what makes the world go round a little bit. But anyway, it's a different story. My experience is that I believe that there is more freedom for men. You can argue why that is. It could be that the woman is a predestined mother, and we are not. We don't. I think that has something to do maybe biologically also. That may also explain why young boys are way less mature than young girls and so on. And my sister certainly has always been more mature than I was. And I don't think that this freedom business is equal. Mm-hmm. We as men can walk away of something and the consequence will be minimal. A woman cannot do that. Let's say, obviously, we can argue, what is the situation? But let's say, when we talk about a relationship with children, for example, not big things, well, there you have it. We can just turn our backs and go north, and we have our consequence too, but nothing compared to what the woman has to carry. If you take that, for example, as an example for freedom.
Okay. And in the status quo, the politics, economy, social behavior.
Well, that's different for me personally. That's ideological stuff.
Okay.
I don't think that I don't pay that much attention to that really, because that comes and goes in waves and generations. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. I'm talking about more like behavior patterns of people that I know in my life that are women. Right. And then I also observe, because I also, go through wars, and I have my own little story with women, and there's a pattern there, and it's a year-long pattern, and I can now slowly start to recognize it, I'm talking about that, not so much about what the left and the right says, and about gender politics and all that. That's a big thing right now, but that's not.
Would you say it's more biological behavior thing?
Well, it's also it's a mix of things, I guess. I believe we're not only biological animals. We also have a mind and a moral and all that. Mm-hmm. That has to also be. I think we're also capable to make more decisions, even though our biological thrive is leading us away from something, or we're prone to something. Mm-hmm. I think morality is important here. So there's a lot of things happening there,
Now, morality seems to come from outside. Perhaps if we center it on emotionally. You said a man can walk away and a woman can't.
Yeah.
Or many women do.
And we are walking away, yeah?
Many women do. Many women do.
Mm.
Especially these days. Perhaps we should center on the feeling aspect of your emotions, on your experience as a man. Perhaps that's what I meant. I wasn't clear enough.
I want to say
Yeah.
that when he was saying something, and then you talked about you said what about the outside circles, let's say politics and this, and I think this is where a little bit for me where the clash is coming, because in one way we have in the last few generations obviously the whole women rights that goes up and becoming equally to men. So you can see now more women that run countries or banks. Big joke here and there. It's like in this, it's becoming more equal, but because of those things are used to be considered as a man job, so also it feels like those women now having men's job, which is totally not correct. It's not a man or woman job. It's just a job. The fact that the men used to do it before, it's something else. The big confusion for me comes when it goes down into the emotional part,
Right.
because then it's also being confused at the lower level of a small relationship between a man and a woman at home. So when the whole movement of equal is not just being on the outside circles of work and of politics and this, it's becoming also into home, and that's where I think the big confusion comes, because we are not equal at home. We are not in the emotional level where we are not equal.
That's good.
And
how's that?
And that feels for me as a man today in the year 2018 very confusing, because when you have a woman that in one way want to be equal with almost everything as you, but in the other hand still expecting you to be a man, whatever that means, that's where the confusion is coming. That it's like, okay, what do you want? Now, I know what I want, and luckily I'm sharing a life with a woman that totally agree with me, more or less, not every day, agree with me, and we are in the same line, we have the same thoughts, same line of thoughts and everything, but I still, even with her that she's super open on this, I still feel those clashes sometimes of expectations against feelings, and
I guess this is exactly the heart of why I'm wanting to meet with you and asking you. I feel this, and I feel that we're overwhelming, and I'd like to know more about you and how you feel, and perhaps a message to what we can do, or how we can be, or what we need to learn. There's a lot. Even today I asked in my WhatsApp group to the women, I'm meeting with some men and asking them some questions. Is there any questions that you want to ask? And they were all questions about themselves and their relationship. What women want, what do men want from us, so on and so forth, and where are their feelings. And this is not the way I personally, Zulma, feel. But yet I'm aware that this is woman's nature, to be prying all the time, to be controlling and to be overwhelming with we're energetically built in a way, which is my field, where we are a very positive, expanding, powerful pole emotionally, whereas men are a very powerful, expanding pole mentally.
Yeah.
And we feel the same pressure. But this is really good, the way, Guy, right?
Yeah.
This is the way that you put it, the outside and then the inside relationship, or the inner, the intimate relationship, there is not really an equality.
Yeah.
But there has to be. Well, my puzzle is, what's the competition about? You know, equality. Like, why do we have to be equal if we're not equal?
Well, I think this is
It's like
social.
trying to press something into a cookie cutter that doesn't want to fit. You know, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this whole equality business is like, I understand on the political scene, let's say, I understand there's so much money to be made on that subject, obviously.
Yeah.
But at home, I believe we need to have a structure, you know. And I live with the woman. We have a child. It's not my child, but it's her child. But we have a family-like setup,
Mm-hmm.
and we talk about the distribution of the responsibilities and what we like to do, what we don't like to do, and things work out quite okay that way. So it's a bit, we negotiate that a little bit, you know. We don't try to do everything the same. It's look who's better at doing what. I was in my previous relationship was like that. There was a constant competition, also because my previous partner has been damaged by a very competitive household with 5 brothers and sisters, you know, who gets most attention from the parents and all these kind of things. So that really, you know, spread it over to me all the time. I could not deal with it. I couldn't understand her, you know. She was like a crazy woman to me, you know. These are the words, and I told her many times, you behave like a crazy person. I don't understand you. It was very heartbreaking. Anyway, that's just my take on that.
No, I'm smiling because it's a very important message that we need to listen. This whole competition thing is not. It's insane.
Equality. The word alone is like equality. It says it all.
Yeah.
You know? Like you have to come up, or I have to come down. It's like
Really.
Well, I mean, I see it. There's this phrase, the equality of opportunity, or the equality of outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
The equality of outcomes would be that we have to be equal, so therefore you should do as much as I do.
Uh-huh.
But equality of opportunity means, if you would like to do this, how about you do this? And if I would like to do that, how about I do that? But I can choose what I would like to do on the level of within my household, if I'm with a partner, or in my work, or in government, or whatever level. I think the opportunity should be there. I mean, I don't see, like, there are women CEOs and presidents now. Okay, how many? Less. But I think that's less because it's a job that requires a crazy amount of work.
Yes.
Crazy amount of time and dedication, and you have to get in there and do, and kind of men like that stuff. Some men like that stuff. I particularly don't work that hard. I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I work my hours. But if a woman wants to do it, then she'll get there. She has that opportunity. They are lawyers and doctors and CEOs and bankers, and that's because there is that equality of opportunity.
Would you say a woman to get into that position has to sacrifice more?
Oh yeah.
than a man?
No, she just...
I'm just asking a
not
question.
really. I mean, if the man wants to be with his children, that's an equal sacrifice to if a woman wants to be with her children.
But in my opinion, like a biochemical genetic difference between man and woman is that women are kind of designed to want to be more with the family and nesting, and that's a big...
Sure. But there are some men who have
thing.
lots of feminine qualities and want to stay at home with the family as well. So
No, for sure, in general.
that's where I don't think it matters.
And there's some extremely ambitious women.
Yeah.
Hold their way to the top. I think it's more difficult for women.
We need to
Because
talk
it's
so
still-
much. No, really, we do, but in a different level. I mean, you know, where there isn't the competition, or I'm better than you are, because there's so many. You just said women are designed to be with a family. What?
No, I'm sure
Yeah.
that sounds
I know.
very...
Like we say, you're designed to protect us.
1950s.
Right.
I'm sure, but I mean, if we are completely honest, we are biochemically different.
Yes.
And I understand that we're trying to get beyond that and get to emotions and feelings, but there's an underlying truth that there is differences, and I think, you know, the whole nature, evolution, it's kind of designed that way. And I don't mean that as a negative thing, I don't mean it as a judgment, I just think it's a thing. That, you know, women are, you know, they're hormonal and they change with the moon and the thing and the chemicals that's released and all the stuff that goes on to make them want to nest. And I think that a woman to get into a more powerful position would be consciously sacrificing more to get into that position, and that's maybe why there's less of them. And obviously the oppression and repression that's happened over the years.
I don't think we know ourselves enough. Women don't understand themselves, and neither do men.
Totally.
Men certainly don't
But I mean,
understand.
so many women think that they do because of the emotional thing, and this is where we go overboard. But
Can I ask what I'm a little bit confused with freedom and feelings.
Yeah.
Like, where's because I feel that men don't have less freedom when it comes to feelings. When it comes to, I feel that when you know, generally we're repressed as kids to just, you know, suck it up, be a man, you know, don't cry. You know, men generally don't have freedom when it comes to feelings. So if that's what we're talking about, if that's what the conversation is about, how we feel, then men aren't free in mind. We're becoming more free, we're becoming more conscious and aware, and the society is getting better, and the generations coming up will have more freedom when it comes to emotions and feelings. But I think
what would you need to have that freedom?
I think you need to be raised by a man who knows how to do it.
And a woman.
yes.
And you have to be that man because there aren't any others
Yeah,
around.
that's the thing, and that's why
That's
why the
where
men's work that we do is for that. It's like trying to put in pieces and learn what we haven't learned.
And you can only learn that from another man.
I don't know.
It's part
I'm
of
asking.
It's learned from all sources.
And of course, you can learn from your partner or
Yeah.
watching, but being man to man once a week, 2 hours, also helps. It opens a different space because it is someone who is sharing, that you can relate much more easy from his sharing and from the way he exposes feelings instead of your partner. It's a different story. Yes, you hear her, you watch her, but it's a great luxury to be man to man and to have the opportunity to connect with a man.
I wasn't thinking so much in terms of partner or a woman partner. I was thinking in terms of mother, of grandmothers. I was thinking...
So damaged, generally. I mean, let's talk about backgrounds. Like, I'm a Turkish, grown up in Turkey. I've been in India long years, so much, you know, I've been abroad a lot, but still I'm coming from a base, a Muslim country, you know, at the end of the day, even though half of the country is not practical, but still. And when you talk about mother, grandmother, damaged, or even the father, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe this generation we here will create some base, little bit better. I just see all these questions in transformation. We are really like the first ones who carry the flag. Maybe us, maybe one generation before, maybe next generation, even maybe my son will be much more healthier about relating, which actually he connects his feelings much more easier than me in the community. So, you know.
We're a time of damaged people. Where we're trying to heal ourselves. Women as well, eh?
When have we not been damaged?
Yeah.
You know,
Perhaps, we're becoming aware.
it's like we look back into the past, we say, oh, back then it was always better. It wasn't better. My parents, back then, no, it wasn't better in the 70s, it wasn't better in the 50s, it wasn't better. I cannot imagine it's better during the Second and First World War. You know, I think, like Purana says, we are now start to kind of have the time to take the head out of the sand and look around a little bit. It was like, okay, well, now we are, let's say, now we live in a well-being, now we live in enough wealth, let's say, that we can start to look back and study our environment a little bit. Before that, like taking my parents, I don't even have to go back many generations. They were so busy, dealing with every day, just to with their hand to their mouth, raising kids, working in factories, shifts, like there was no discussion about equality and all that stuff. They were just getting on with it. Now it's us or me, that my sister too, that we look at our parents and we analyze and look at our own relationship and we get divorced and we start to become this, cherry picking individuals, and look at our conversation today. I mean, that I don't think that there was a possibility in my parents' time, that someone comes along and sits down with us and talks about these things, and this is happening nowadays a lot, which is a good thing, but I don't think that we can figure it out just like that. It's very complex.
Agreed. Let's go back a little bit to this, because it's kind of stayed unanswered, or maybe I interrupted. What can be done? How can we help a man to contact and be true and genuine inside? He's been forced for centuries, if not forever, to be performing on the outside. For him to contact this fragileness. You just actually brought to mind a question which one of the women who lives in Paris just asked me. She said, if you can. Men have been forced to be very macho-like, especially the Muslims, especially Turkish, very, very male society. And today, with all this female power and the value of women and women's groups and all that, men, sensitive men, are becoming softer in their desire to reach their own femininity, which I disagree, but in any event, this is what it's called. Your tenderness, your inside. Vulnerability, so that they've lost a little bit of that peak of that harsh leadership, male, macho drive. So you guys are in the middle of this here. So coming back to the subject of feelings, what can be done? I think I agree with you. Need to meet with one another, men, without us. But is there anything that we can do as women that might help?
Women are parents as well. So women are parents, and it starts at the beginning. You educate children to be more aware of feeling, emotional intelligence. I mean, psychology didn't exist a century ago. Science, all these things, these concepts, these ideologies, or these philosophies, political philosophies of equalness or equal opportunity. So things have changed, and I think it's a question really of allowing the kids to be that, because I think if there's anything that we're not free with, it's the judgments that we feel, it's the expectations, it's the things that our mothers have told us, do it like this, you've got to do this, join the army or something, whatever it is. And I feel that, and I feel a sense of responsibility, expectation from my parents. So I've changed the expectation.
I believe not only for women, men, for any case actually, this way of relating always opens doors. It's just to catch the right moment and to look at the eyes, to hold the hand, and to acknowledge, for example, in my case, okay, I hear and see your difficulties of bringing the bread at home, or trying to make money, or to come in a different culture, whatever my difficulties are. It's not so difficult for a sensitive person to see them. I hear them, I acknowledge them. This will shock. The other one will be to be seen this way, totally the way he sees himself, will open a gate instead of having fraction, which goes on, which both sides righteously. So acknowledging the counterpart or the other one in a sensitive way, and without expecting anything to let it go, we'll give a chance. We'll give a great chance. Who knows? Maybe the day after, other one will think and will come with the flowers. Or will come with the... I believe big percentage. Some move like this, to instead of equality again.
Yeah,
Instead of that, putting the really female there, which is the qualities like to make it grow.
Mm-hmm.
This will help a lot to a relationship.
I feel that it's not necessarily the responsibility of the female to the question is, what can women do to make men feel?
How can we help?
How can you help? It's a reciprocal, it has to be a reciprocal thing, it has to be an open dialogue, and it doesn't have to, I feel it should be a reciprocal thing, like you say, like authentic communication. Ripping away all the layers of social, political philosophy, trying to break through all that and just having open communication, and that's the only way that works is if it's both ways, and that helps,
Very
in
good.
my opinion.
The inevitable question.
Can I just add something to that?
Yes.
For me, I think, in my experience of having partners who've wanted to help me be more of a man, as much of a waste of time as it's ended up being, because it seems like it's been always a projection of how can you be better so I can feel you as a man.
Wow.
And that for me was like, well, why don't you just piss off and be more of a woman? Like, where you drop that shit and be more, find your femininity and let me do my thing and let's see where that takes me. And because I find that strength through working with men, through finding my purpose, through clearing out my own past and doing my work, my psychotherapy, whatever it is that I choose to do. And it is helpful when the woman can look in my eyes and say, I see what you're doing and I see where you're struggling and I see that. That's beautiful. The way Purana gives that, it's like that touches us, it touches me. And yet to be like, okay, so how can I help you be a better man?
No,
That's
not what...
No, that's what I'm saying. That other question of how can I help you be a better man, it's like, how you're not man enough for me, how can I help you be a better man? And, well, maybe just focus on something else.
I think you have a very important point there too. I think you've made very important points here. It may not have been the question, but it's a very important point.
I think the source, we just have to go back a little bit to the source. It's like, it feels like in the last probably mainly 100 years, it's like we kind of fast forward life a bit too fast. So it's not anymore on the same pace. Like society, humanity grow, in a certain way, a certain speed, and it looks like the last 100 years just and everything went faster, and this willing for equality and willing for women to be really strong as a man, and everything to do as a man, it became too fast, and instead of finding the balance in the middle, it's a little bit going a little bit too much extreme to the other side. And that's what make a lot of men looking for their feminine side now and doing more feminine stuff and going more inside, and which is all good thing, but within a matter. So there is supposed to be a dose of it, not too but I feel like men today in society, especially again Western society, it's true like this, I'm too much busy with it. Instead of going a little bit back to the source and feeling yourself as a man and if you, and what does it mean to be a man? I don't know, for me, I definitely feel myself like that as a provider. I feel myself as a protector, as supporter, in any kind of thing, if it's an emotional support or this, and then it makes me feel good and makes me feel strong as a man when I'm doing those things and I'm succeeding in those things, so I'm good in it and it works, what I do works, and I can provide those kind of things. And being too much connected to my feminine side feels like it's putting me away from that. So, I don't know, doing too many workshops or doing too many things that's only connecting me to my feminine side and me a little bit away from my masculine side, my men's side, putting me a little bit away from that.
This was another question, is how do you use your power without seeming like a clod up or whatever, like coming off so strong? I mean, you guys are aware also of the other side, which is how we come off strong to you emotionally, how you come off strong to us.
Yeah.
Imagine it. So, how do you use your power as a man? How do you feel your power as a man? Now we're talking extrovertedly, not what a woman demands of you. How do you feel it?
I could connect it to what Guy was saying. Like, when I feel like within my relationship I'm strong and the things that I'm doing are working, and I feel like I have connection, then my strength is then spread out to the community. Then I'm starting to be not just pillar for my partner, but pillar for my community. And my strength goes into the projects that I want to do to support that everyone around me has the benefits of whatever I can give in my life. Whether that's real or philosophical, I'm not really sure. Sometimes it's a bit of both.
It feels pretty real.
Well, I think that it depends on the energy we're talking about that comes, let's say, from the woman over to the man. When I go home, for example, I can only take myself as a case study because every case is different, I suppose. But when I come at home and there's something in the air, there's something going on, and I get overwhelmed by this energy, let's say, then what helps is to acknowledge that, and not judge it as something bad or good or something it is, and find my spot in that energy. It could be withdrawing myself. If that helps her, then so I do. If it's confronting her, let's say, then I do that. So there's a lot of strategy going on, at least in my way of dealing with it, which works out quite okay. It doesn't always work out well, but it works out more times better than it doesn't. And on the other side, when I come home and I have I'm supercharged because I had a tough day at work or things didn't work out the way I wanted or any of that, then she picks up on that too. And she kind of understands that. And she empowers me to be that at that very moment. And in previous relationships, to give you an example of how it did not work, was that I get judged by that. Why am I like this? What happened again? Feeling almost ashamed to speak out my truth. And that results in a competition. So next time she comes across like that, then I'll pay back. Also, kind of like manifests as resentment, an ongoing resentment towards each other, and that never really stops because it ping-pongs all the time. Every day there's something going on. But maybe that's a bad example and a good example, of all.
God, we need to hear you guys. We need to hear more about this. It's just not spoken about enough. It's good what you're doing. It's good what is happening. But we need to hear about it. We, I mean, women. it's not enough to tell them, hey, you know, guys,
So,
it's
so
the
that
beginnings. It's like,
we've never been taught these things, you know. We go to school and we learn all this,
The capital of
Yeah.
Paraguay.
all this irrelevant stuff, and then relationships appear, you know, and then we kind of stumble into them, you know, and we stumble into fatherhood, and then we stumble into divorce, and we stumble into depression, and we just still stumbling into life like that, you know, and banging our head against the wall all the time. There's no proper orientation for us. Like where I am today is just as a result of fucking up 40 years, really. You know, I wish somebody would have asked me a few questions 10, 15 years ago, you know. Simple questions like that.
and
It's
then
not
we
like
women
rocket
expect
science.
you to give us 400. It's really too much.
And that's something that has me sometimes really angry too, you know.
I think we're disenfranchised in the sense that women, you know, in my lifetime when I went from radical feminist people at college, they had a program. So women have moved forward very, very fast. In a single generation, it really, really has changed. We haven't. I mean, wait for us to catch up a bit. Maybe some of the advice. There's some awareness, and people go off and do retreats and do other stuff and look at philosophy, and you have a little more luxury to do that. Especially after divorce and things when you think, what the fuck was that all about? Actually, you know, what did I do wrong? But I think women have moved forward much faster, and I don't see the awareness in men that in any way is balanced.
It's not balanced because it's not spoken about, because you guys are very inner, and it needs to be spoken about so that we can hear.
It's not a, you know, women have got a cause, women have got a bandwagon, women have got this movement going on, and men
I know.
don't. We're in a reactive state rather than in a proactive state. So we're being defensive. I mean, apart from all the other things about, you know, closing down and so on. So we're on the back foot. And whether it's dear Harvey Weinstein or whoever it is, you know, men are getting a really bad rap for certain things. But on the other hand, you know, women, it's like, they want me to be a man, want me to be kind of physical, but don't hit me. Not hit you, but they're not hitting me.
Mm-hmm.
It's understandable, but there's this period of transition, hopefully to a better place. I think that's, men are generally, you know, a generation behind.
But the inevitable question which I need to cover and somehow not cover, just mention, because it's always there, at least we see it there, as being a preoccupation of men, mainly, which we cater to, and you know what I'm going to talk about, sex. So how does this issue come in? Are you guys as preoccupied about sex as we women think you are?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What else?
No idea.
It depends on when. It depends on when. I think there are stages we move through, like with everything.
Yeah.
We're also all pumped up on we've got testosterone levels. That is true. I mean, we are on like from birth, really. And there's this biological reasons too. It's not like, you know, it's real.
But
With this
there are two
awareness that is
lines.
growing in you, with this awareness that is growing in you. I know that for women, I mean, this is a big subject we talk about. It's these signals from the body and these signals like from the soul or from the heart are not at the same level. And it's a big battle. And women mainly choose the inner, the heart. But we sell out to the other one too. It's like, you know, and for men it must be the same kind of battle, but maybe you guys find that the testosterone is stronger than the the soul need, but
Again, I don't think we've had much education about it, so I didn't really learn about my sexuality at any depth until I was getting divorced. I was 40, it's a bit late. But also, let's not kid ourselves. Once you've had enough to eat, the next thing is we've got to procreate, and we have men and women equally.
But you don't have sex to period. Come on. We're not at that level now.
Yeah, I see it like lion trap. Also with my father, I had this talk. I'm the oldest son. We are 3 sons. My father was a very strong character. Why we are like this? He asked me, like, I'm the curious one in the family. And I said, watch the lion documentary. Watch the father, how the boys grow. He throw them away.
Mm-hmm.
How he wanna go and put his sperm everywhere. This basically exists somewhere in reptile brain. Somewhere this exists.
Yeah, let me rephrase
But
that.
it's just that you guys are going on the physical testosterone level. It's fine. But I'm talking about. You were talking also about feelings. They're not the same.
That's exactly the 2 lines I was saying
Okay.
before. It's 2 different, I feel there is 2 different lines. One line is that we are, most men, almost all the way in life on it. It's like we all, although if we are in a relationship or no, we all watching women and walking on the street, going into cafes, whatever, going on the beach, getting naked, whatever. Men, it's like you have WhatsApp groups. Sometimes you get more like people sending like WhatsApp naked photos of women. I'm sure women do it less, and it's like or none at all. And with women and with men, it's happening. It's this thing that it's always on, but that's just one line. There is the other line, which is the really feeling one, which is the really this and that. What he said before, that goes a little bit up and down. It doesn't mean that we are also, especially when you are in a relationship, because when you are free, even then it goes up and down, but less. You are more there because you are free. You can do whatever you want, and you are always free to choose with who to go and when to go. But when you are in a relationship, you are a little bit more restricted, and there is the feelings, like sometimes it's coming more, and sometimes we want more sex, sometimes we like less sex, and it's not that always it's there, and it's also connected to for example, how busy I am at my work. So
Doing and being are not the same.
Exactly.
Okay. Sex can be about doing. When does it become being? And when does being enough to not have to do? You get my question?
Okay, I have something to say on that.
Yes.
And I cannot speak for all men, and no man can speak for all men, because we're not all the same, but we're kind of all the same. It's more technical than anything, most of the times, having the whole sex act. So at least, for me, it's just time to do it, and there's a hormone train in motion, and I try to get it. Let's put it this way, okay. And I have a woman, so there she is, and then we do it. So there's not much, at least at that decision-making procedure. Let's say when things get all hot and heavy, let's say, there isn't much stardust going on. There isn't much of that inner explosion and the lights go off. It's just technical. It gets messy, and it's great, and it's awesome, and then there's connection there, and there's light there, and there's all that there, and then when it's done.
Right.
From my perspective. Okay. So I understand, because my girlfriend is extremely emotional. She's very attached to her inner body, and I admire
that. Tell me
that
you love me.
I admire and acknowledge that, and I'm falling short on giving her that, and she acknowledges that too, right? But she also acknowledges that this is a bit of a negotiation. I'm so good at other things, though. You know, I'm so good at other things that deficit, let's say, which easily could also be an over expectation from her too. By the way, you know, it's not like just because you demand it, I have to deliver it.
But we're getting a little bit off the subject.
Can you
I want to
repeat what
bring
you
it.
said about the doing and the being?
Yes.
Because the way I understood that, and it only came to me now while you were saying that, is that in that moment, in that like physical, biochemical, evolutionary connection, we are being 100% authentic. We're not, you know, in that moment of that connectivity, we are being 100% like fully there, authentic. There's no, we're present, we're in the moment. Is that what you mean when you say about bringing the doing into being? So bringing that authenticity into everything else. Is that what
You've communicated very clearly how you feel, okay, in the sense of the experience of the body, and the
no, that's not what there's way more going on. I mean, there's way more going on. There's that deep connection, that magic, that stardust that to
Is
me
there ever a
happens all the time.
moment, I want to ask you a question, is there ever a moment when to do sex or to be sex, the impulse, as natural, as great, as delicious as it is in competition with your feelings? And is it like an equal urge for you, because it is for women? Is there a point, can you conceive of that being an equal proportion for you?
That the feeling of needing to
With
connect
the emotion
with my
of
woman
not related to sex.
Is equal
Can there be an emotion
connection.
not related to sex in love? And is it equal? Or does sex
Feeling the need
predominate always?
Feeling the need
what
of
it was
connection, connecting,
Yes,
That's
in a
what
way.
it
not through sex,
Bringing that
can also be there. So just to make it clear.
Yes. Well, that's
So,
one.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you understand what I was saying?
Yes.
I couldn't because we couldn't finish actually.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, I just asked the question: is the need of connecting? You mean with the other one? Sexuality.
Yeah. Were
is
your own feelings
coming from being? You say, yeah, coming from emotions.
For example, sometimes you may want to have sex, and your woman doesn't. And yet she transmits to you a nostalgia, which quite often is judged as being emotional, or she's in her thing, or she's got her period, or whatever, you know. But that emotion is as intense for her a need. And it doesn't have to be about something, it's a state, as is a physical state for you. Okay? Now the doing being bit is something that's a little bit from what I teach. Is like we're constantly in a state of responding to our body's minds in executing things. Sex is one of them. It just happens to be more spontaneous. And then there's the other state of being where you are not executing, ejecutar in the Spanish sense, we're not doing anything. And at the same time you are so deeply connected to existence, to a deeper sense of feeling being, and sometimes these two can be at odds.
I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
I really believe that men have equal, if not superior, ability to connect and to go beyond the pure physical sex. My experience has been deep love in the moments of coitus and not, where if we extend the sense of what sex is, a physical interaction.
Can you have that without sex?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's I'm not sure that everybody does it or every man is the same, but I know people who are equally capable of doing it as women, or women claim to be. So there's always, if it's good, a good relation, if it's good love, if it's really, really on it, then it's extremely powerful for men in imagine the same kind of way it is for women. And we're perfectly capable of it. I think that perhaps there's more repression in men, that they're want to get it over too quickly or whatever it is. But for sure we can.
Okay.
And forming meaningful, long-lasting.
I just gave women as an example. Actually, I didn't want to talk very much about women because I want to hear your side.
I think that the difficult part of going into the vulnerability, because I have to be very vulnerable to be in that place. Much more vulnerable than I do to fuck or to make love. And they're different things. But to be in the other place and start to actually bring in my heart and my essence and be open with that, that's incredibly vulnerable, and I've gone there much fewer times in my life. And I think when we're never taught that I don't know how I accidentally stumbled, well I do, but it's not something that our men teach us, or in the past, and I think it needs to be taught, it needs to be shown in some way.
Thank you. What else do we need to hear? Anybody? I mean, out there, also, other men that they're not listening
There's one
to
thing
themselves.
I like to say that it's getting misunderstood often, at least in my previous relationships, is that it would have helped me in past relationships if the person I'm with just sometimes lets me do my thing, especially in regards to my responsibilities towards my whatever I call responsibility. Let's say in my case it's work. I work a lot, and I like to work a lot, and that's the problem most women don't get, because work is not always associated with suffering. And work is not always associated with a problem, Work can be a good thing. And I like to work a lot. So that's my free will, let's say. And I like to spend time at work. I'm aware of my responsibilities at home, and I fulfill them to the best of my knowledge. But for me, my path and my responsibility towards the people I work with and towards the people that work for me has a very, very important value for me. And to find someone that doesn't compete with that, because that happened in the past. It's like, okay, wait a moment, you got here your own little thing, and where am I in this game, Well, you're kind of here, and to say that to women is like, oh, you tell me, Imagine your man tells you that you're not the one and only thing on the planet, the most important thing on the planet, because you're not.
Yes.
Because you're not, and you will never be. It's like, can we be happy now? Can you deal with this answer? If you can deal with this answer, we're going to have a great foundation to start a somewhat harmonious relationship. But if not, then I'll be lying to you all the time. Because I gotta deal with you. I gotta live with you. If I'm married with you and I have a kid with you, I'm screwed. So I gotta lie to you every time.
Yeah.
And then you get wrong signals, and then it's a resentment, and then things just go down very quickly.
Very good.
So yeah, that would have helped me a lot if they just let me do my fucking thing.
Absolutely.
I think this is connecting to something that we in our men's circle we repeat many times, and it's a term that we use hundreds of times here in this room, is about the castrated men. And So if yes, there is something to say to the outside, to all women, and also to all men, to acknowledge it, is to women to stop trying to castrate us, and to men is to not accepting to being castrated, because nothing good will come out of it, because or the relationship will not hold and we will break, or we will have to lie.
You can't domesticate a man. You know what I mean?
You can domesticate anybody.
You can't domesticate another man. That's what most women try to do from day one. You know, it's like holding a dog. You can't domesticate a man. We're wild animals. You know, we got moral. Yeah, you can help us to become civilized and pick up our cross at home as well, and that will make up a good husband or a bad husband. Let's say, if I fulfill my tasks towards you to be protective, I gotta dish it out. You know, I gotta support you financially, physically, with whatever you need in order to function properly in the house with the kids. So there's a lot of responsibility upon my behalf that's very easily to be measured, you know, and you, of course you have to hold me to that responsibility. I need to comply, you know, like there's no freedom there, you know, but this whole domestication business is like, Jesus, you know, that's bad. It's bad for everybody, you know.
Can I?
It just kills it.
Please.
I think you finished, huh?
Mm.
No, it's kind of rounded up. Just because I think we are finishing now, the time is also coming to an end. There is two, might be funny sentences. One is joke, if I have time I would like to say it. The other one is a funny sentence from maybe Turkish culture, maybe it's international. A man comes together with woman expecting that she won't change. And woman comes together with a man expecting that he'll change. And at the end, man doesn't change and woman changes. This is one of it, funny, but practically I have seen it a lot. Other one is a joke actually from a Sufi mystic. It's a little bit, couple of sentences. His name is Mullah Nasreddin. Maybe some people can know him. So a man comes to Mullah Nasreddin, he said, Mullah, please help me, I'm going to be a killer, I'm going to kill her. He said, relax, what's going on? It's my wife. I say right, she said black. I say right, she says left. I say high, she goes down. I don't know what to do with her. Mullah said, this is the problem. We solved this problem years ago. What are you talking about? Tell me how you solved it. Look, we solved the things very easily. We divided things two categories. Small things, big things. Of course, as a man, I decide the big things, and as a woman, she decides the small things. Guy says, can you give me some examples? I said, yeah, for example, where are we going to live, which school kids will go, where are we going to go holiday, which car we will buy, yes, all these things she decides. You, what are you deciding? I decide big things like if there is a God, what is sin, what is not sin. This is a little bit practically.
Very good.
Yeah.
If there's God,
These are big things.
Excellent. Well, anything else we want to say? You guys want to say?
well, thank you for
Thank you very much. Thank you.
showing up, you know.
Thank you, and thank you for accepting me into this space. Thank you. I hope we can get a good message out there.
Thanks.
Thank you.